Hey, so sorry it's been a while since I did a video, but after the Nationals this last weekend, a couple of people suggested that I do a little video to talk about my national win in the time trial for Masters 2 and the road race. So that's the plan. So I thought I'd just make it reasonably quick because sometimes I have a habit of going on. But I thought I'd really sort of keep it to a bit of an idea about, what tactically what I was sort of thinking for, especially for the road race, what I did and when I did it, and hopefully that'll be of help to some of you guys because I'm not sure that a lot of people often go into road races with an idea of exactly what tactics they're going to use and why. And then also for the time trial, that's a little less different. It's not so much about tactics, but your approach and how you know your power level and you suss out your drag and stuff like that. So sorry, I'll start with the best intentions of not going on for a long time, but I probably will anyway. So let's go. So I'll just put this in the corner. It'll probably mess up at some point. So let's head to Strava. There's a couple of photos of there's a photo of me in leading the road race that Cycling New Zealand put up. We had a group of about 15. I'll go into that later. The results for the TT, me standing up there looking weird, me in position. Sorry, it's not a greater picture, but you get an idea of my position on the time trial. Me looking weird on the podium for the road race, but yeah, that's the main one there, which is the time trial. Final order. I guess that's me, Logan Holzer in second there from Tasman, and David Addison. So I beat Logan by 57 seconds and David Addison by 3 minutes. The field wasn't really that strong, but I'm still happy with my performance. Ultimately, in a TT, it's about deciding how, did you really do as good as you could have done? And I think I did. So okay, let's. Number one, let's just dive into the data here. So if you go to my Strava, you'll be able to see all my power numbers and stuff. I don't hide anything, and my heart rate and everything. And the first thing I always look at is stuff like average power and heart rate. I know for a fact that, and in any sort of TT over about 20 minutes, I really want to be just sitting there at about 160, 159 beats. I'm at lactate 4 millimoles of lactate, or about lactate threshold at about just over there, about 162, 163 beats. So, if we take a big chunk of that, you can see, majority of that is about 160. I averaged 159, so that's about perfect. In terms of power, it was 339. On a course like this, it's a little bit like hard to tell because when you go down a hill, you can imagine like that power is an average. So, if you're not pedaling down a hill or you're pedaling very lightly or soft pedaling, it kind of reduces the average a little bit. So, but you can sort of get an idea when you lock in, I'll use my cycling analytics for this. When you lock in sort of a period where you are in position and you're able to put out, your target power on a relatively flat section, you might choose a chunk like this. Just after the first turn up to the valley, it's averaging about 346. Again, same or similar section here, 333. So anywhere between 335, 345 and watts. And for me, that's about right. It's probably a little conservative, which explains why I was able to put in quite a big burst towards the end. But you're better to be 10 watts conservative and not go anaerobic, is my sort of view on it. Look, so that's the nuts and bolts of my targets. I wanted to be about 160 beats. It was 159, so bang on. I wanted to be about 340 watts, and the normalized was 345. So I was right, pretty much bang on my target. So it's good to look at this stuff because you can see objectively using your heart rate, but especially your power. Did I really do my job? And I kind of I don't know, take this as a telling off or whatever you like, but my feeling is a lot of people come away from these events, and I think it's because they have jobs that take energy away from them in other areas of their life, so it's not really a criticism. But I think what can happen is they they have this energy taken out of them, and then they kind of know a little bit like what they are capable of producing on the day, and they don't do it because it requires like yet another big effort when they've already been at work and they've already had families and they've already done all this. And so I guess what I'm saying is in training you should know, have done dress rehearsals enough to know what you are capable of, and in my humble opinion you should go out there on race day and do it. There shouldn't really be a question of will this hurt? Yes, it will. There shouldn't really be a question of, do I want to do this? No, halfway through you won't want to be doing it. So put all that out of your mind. If you would like to be in cycling, know that you're going to go out there, you will suffer and you will hurt. If you come back and you have not done your best and you say, well, you did that knowingly and you said, well, I just couldn't commit to that mental effort today. Well, that's sort of okay, but you may not come back to me and say, oh, I just don't know why I wasn't feeling up to it or something. Yeah, bar crazy bad sleep or bar crazy terrible nutrition or anything like that, you'll be just fine. You can do it. It's just you don't want to. So, my humble opinion is just, know what you can do and just go out there and do it, and you're not going to die because you've done it before. You're not going to blow up. You should know what you're capable of. I guess, so that brings me on to like another topic about this TT, which is, let's just go through the basics. You want to have a good hard start. You want to get up to target power as soon as possible. On this course, there was a little dog leg, which we started over here. No, we didn't. We started over here. Did we? No, we started here. We went up a little side road. We went onto the main drag. And I was kind of cognizant, let's work through it. I was kind of cognizant at this corner. Number one is safety. So you want to like check out if there's any junk on the road or so, with gravel or something, so you're not going to slide out. And then you want to maintain your speed through there. So here I'm up to speed reasonably quickly, which is wanted to be about 45k an hour. I want to maintain most of the speed through that corner if I can, as long as it's safe. And then, I really want to hit it pretty hard to get back up to speed, because you're going to lose a little speed there. And then this section here is all pretty flat, or just undulating. This section here is kind of all downhill, but that's big, is get up to speed fast. Even if you think of it this way, like imagine if you want to accelerate from like 20 to 40k an hour, you want to do that but really, really fast, because obviously that's like 20k an hour difference, right? But you think about it, let's just say that is a big effort, but that gets you up to say 45k an hour at 340 watts, let's just say. Well, even if you need to take a little rest and that brings you down to 42, 43k an hour, that's okay, because the difference is bigger. You're going to lose less time. So it's a terrible way of putting it. What I'm trying to say is put in, I think, and the data shows this, you want to put in a really big effort, even if it costs you, and you go a little bit anaerobic for say 20, 30 seconds to get up to speed. Then if you want to bring yourself down to a level which is a little, 5% under your target power to get a little rest and then bring it back up, that's going to give you a better time. And I think I did that better in this TT. That applies to any time where you're doing, a sharp turn, or the start for that matter. So then the bit I want to get onto in this course, which was the big deal, which everyone was talking about, was this chunk coming up Waikiki Valley Road. And it was this long, like if I zoom in here, it's this weird long drag. It's always hard to tell on the profile how exactly, like how steep and stuff it is. See, the gradient there was only 2.5%, and 3.8, say 4Ks long, right? So it's kind of long, and it's this weird, it's certainly not a false flat, like it's definitely a climb, but it's not, it's not steep. And you certainly, so here's the thing, right? How are you going to approach that? Well, I'd gone out a few weeks before and done a couple of dress rehearsals on some rollers near here at target power and everything, because I wanted to see, like, really measure what's the difference between staying, there's always that temptation to get out of the saddle and kind of, because you use different muscles, it feels relaxing for a minute. But what's the cost of that in terms of time? And it, when we're playing a game where, an extra 5 or 10 seconds is a big deal, it's kind of worth knowing that. So I went out on the Liverton course. There's one long kind of roller, which is nowhere near as long as this, but, you can get a lot of an idea by doing different methods what it costs you. And on a roller that was a similar grade, but only, it might be 200, 300 meters long, you're saving like 2, 3, 4 seconds by staying in that proper TT position. It's going to be a little more painful because, you're always looking for excuses to get out of position. But if you can stay in position, even producing a little less power than you might standing, you're still going to be faster. So say, for example, on that section I was talking about where I did my dress rehearsal, maybe in the first instance, the first test, I might have tried it at 420 watts, but standing, which feels a little more comfortable, versus 350 watts, but in position. And it just shows you the power of the aerodynamic drag reduction because it was saved despite the fact that it was much less power in position and much less comfortable. It was much faster. So I used that knowledge on this section. I knew it was coming up from having a little bit of a look at the course profile and stuff that Cycling New Zealand had put out. So I knew this section was going to be there. That's why I did the testing, and I knew that section would be a lot faster ridden in position. So if you want to see a good example of how that worked out for me, let's actually look at the little comparison tool. So I've made a little segment of the course here. This is the same segment we're talking about. And a guy who I'm racing against all the time at the moment, and him and I are neck and neck, is Jack Polly from Wellington. He's a very similar rider, same sort of weight, same sort of power, same everything. And when I talked to him after the race, he'd approached this section a little different. He got out of saddle a couple of times, and I'd really made a concerted effort to stay in saddle. In position. So this is so I've got the 15th fastest time on the course. Of course, there'll be a couple of people that haven't uploaded, so I might be top 20 or something like that. So let's go and have a look at Jack Polly. See, he's only a couple of places behind me. We'll compare him, and I'll just take off the top guy so it's easy to see with the resolution. So check it out. So here's me and Jack starting, and for the first 6Ks of the course, we're basically neck and neck, like the 4 seconds in it there. In the valley part, he took out another few seconds and was about 10 to 13 seconds ahead of me all the way through the valley. But look at what happens when we get to the bottom of the climb I was just talking about. Here's the turn over here. Here's the turn, and then we were basically neck and neck again. I guess I took a little bit out of him. I took that 10 seconds back at the bottom of the valley. So we're starting this long drag, neck and neck, 0 in it. And by the top, I'd taken out 23 seconds. So that's all from using that method. And I suspect you can even get more granular and see down here, that's probably me in position. And then, I don't know, maybe he was in position better here or something like that. Like, because we're so evenly matched, you can get quite granular with the data. But anyway, that's all I was saying is, for me, I can almost guarantee you that's the difference, what made me that 20 seconds. I've looked at his power data for that section, and it's very powerful, and he stayed in power, but the aero drag was what it's all about. So anything that's even, like, you can even get up to reasonably steep grades, like 4, 5, 6%. In my humble opinion, I think you really want to stay in position for that exact reason. So I hope that is helpful when it talks about that. The only other thing I'd say is, we all cock things up. I got it wrong because I forgot one of my shoe covers, so that probably cost me 10 seconds or something on this course. I probably hadn't buried it quite deep enough because I was able to produce for the last minute 454 watts. Oh, that's not that amazing. Okay, now maybe I timed it about right to come across the line for the win. So there's my time trial. I averaged 42.7 kilometers an hour. 339 watts all up, normalized power 345, and that, again, that difference is because of those rollers. I had a cadence of 90, which is a little on the higher side for me, but probably again because it was a little bit rolling. Distance of 24.6 k's, and the course had 189 meters of climbing, so really kind of pretty rolly for a TT course. Didn't really suit me, but glad to get the win. So let's look at road race then, and my thoughts about that. Here it is here in Cycling Analytics. I've got my warm up and my warm down. And I guess guess I'll go back to Strava. Oh, I don't need an activity feed, I just want my activities. So this course was, I didn't even have a chance to ride it before the race. It was, I could see that it was going to be kind of rolling, but it was more rolling than I thought. Went out down the valley and did 4 laps of this course and then up back the same route as the TT. So we had that kind of long drag to contend with right at the end of the race. 109 kilometers, 2 hours 56. So this is the same as normalized, the weighted average power, 285 watts. But because it's so rolling, it doesn't really explain, the full story. So look, as far as the story of the course goes, or the story of the race, we stayed together until probably only the second lap, and then 1 or I think 2 guys went off the front. One of whom was, I guess let me get the names here for you because I've got it in the photo of the results. He probably is worth a shout out because he rode great. Oh no, I don't. Yeah, I'll find it later. He was really. I thought it was kind of a little bit like last Nationals. I thought it was too early to really attack and go very far out, and especially because the wind was getting up. So those are sort of things that were going on in my mind when I saw guys going up the road. Yeah, I think we had for about 2.5 laps. After that, there was these 2 guys up the road. We were getting time checks, and they went out from 1 minute to 2 minutes, and even up to 3 minutes by about the end of the 3rd lap. But because we were working reasonably well, for that whole period, if we look in the data here, I'll take kind of a chunk here. We're averaging 37k an hour, but again on an undulating course, averaging 267 watts. So I wouldn't say it was hard, but we were lapping out okay-ish. I mean, I would give it a rating of 7, 8 out of 10 for how we were working, and the wind was getting up. So I kind of thought, and the time checks were coming back a little bit as well. So I thought, look, we don't have to panic or do anything major apart from work well, and we're going to get him. So and I guess this is maybe a conversation topic as well, which is, when you're in that position where you want the group to work, let's say, I don't know, you're a sprinter and you kind of actually want there to be some sort of bunch gallop at the end. Well, how do you do it? What do you do? What I do is I talked to the guys and I said, okay, well, they've got this time and we should try to, if we work together, we'll catch them. You want to keep it pretty simple because you can't hear much in the wind and stuff. But you say something like that and you kind of got to take the initiative, go to the front, do a turn, don't pull through and do these crazy turns. And then flick your elbow, say come up, and dudes usually start working. I noticed in our group, I don't really know why this was, a lot of guys weren't that great at lapping out, and they would do these really big turns on the front, and then they would kind of gas out. They would dangle out the front for 50 meters, and then or 20 meters or something, and then come back. It's super pointless. I don't know why guys would do that, but it wasn't really an attack. It was just too hard a turn. So I guess there's a lesson is, your job is to come through on the pace line. You're supposed to, bring your power up so that you are, keeping the pace really solid. When you're on the front, of course, you've got more air resistance, so you're going to have to put a little more power and then come around on the wind side. And I don't know, I think that maybe guys need to practice it a little better or something, because it would really, really help, and it would really, really speed things up. And it wouldn't gas them out so bad. But anyway, I noticed that. So where am I? So we brought one guy back near at somewhere in the last lap, and I think it became clear in that last lap, about that point there, with about 10 or 15 k's to go, with still a 2-minute gap, we weren't going to catch the dude unless he had some major cramp or something like that. At this point, we've dropped about half of the group, so there might be a group of about 5 or 6 of us. And so what do we do then? So I'm always thinking about how the race starts, what I want it to be, how the race develops, how are we going to deal with that, and then towards the final, well, what are we going to do? And as a time trialist, I don't ever really want to go into a sprint with pretty much anyone, because it's not great me sprinting. So I'm thinking, well, how can I make some sort of, in this last 10Ks, what am I going to do? How am I going to approach this? So I'm thinking at this point, no matter what happens, catching the guy up front is not really something I can control. The only way anything is going to happen there is if he cramps and breaks down completely. So I just need to figure out a way that I can try to break away and solo at some point. I don't really mind bringing some guy with me to the line and having a sprint against one or two other guys. That's okay. But I don't really want to be in a bunch gallop. Even 5 or 6 guys is too many for me. So I've thought about the effort level in the race. It's been reasonably high. Guys are looking a little bit tired. So in this like final, 15Ks, is like maybe from 90Ks, I start putting in some sort of exploratory attacks. And it's not really attacks. It's where I kind of roll reasonably hard off the front. And I do this move where I just like find a gap of 10 or 20 meters. You don't really need to do anything much. And then kind of like put some gas on. And I'm not talking about attacking. I'm just going time trial mode for like 10 or 20 seconds, 350 watts. And you can tell, like, I don't know, do guys just jump on that and cover that straight away? Do they let it go a little bit? Do guys start looking around? You get a little bit of a feel for how people in the group feel, and also what sort of mode they're in. Like, are they jump on everything mode because they're really snappy? Are they want everyone else to do the work? And there's this opportunity in the last 10Ks of any race where, you think dudes are always in this mode where they're looking around wanting the other guys to shut the gap. And that's a really dangerous thing to do because, if you're someone like me who's off the front, I guess I'm giving away my secrets here, but screw it. It's probably no surprise really. You don't need a very big gap if you're within quite close to the finish line, because the energy it takes to shut that gap is really high. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't really have an answer for it. If you're a dude in the bunch, if you're one of those 5 or 6 guys who are watching me right off the front, well, what do you do? I mean, okay, it's easy to say, well, you should just jump on it and shut it down. Well, that's all very well, good, but then you've had to use all that energy and other guys haven't. Someone else may very well do it, but, well, that's a bit of a gamble, isn't it? Because they might not, and then meanwhile, me or whoever it is has got another 100 meters on you, and everything's going pretty late. Anyway, in this case, those attacks I put in were all shut down, so it kind of really left this last climb to do something. I was a little bit confident because I could sort of tell that guys were a bit tired. So in this final climb, there's about 5 or 6 of us. We're climbing. If I zoom in here on the Strava, it's not so great in the Strava. I'll zoom in here on the race, on cycling analytics, so you can see a little more granular. This is the final climb, and you can see about a third of the way up. I'm just sitting in. We're just, cruising up there, 312 watts, 325 normalized, and I just put in, what for me is a pretty hard attack. I know there'll be plenty of people that can do a lot better than this, but this is for me a hard attack, which is, about 40 seconds, just under 600 watts. And I was prepared to do it a couple of times if I had to, but really when I looked around, all the guys were pretty gassed. So at that point, I'm committed. So it's time trial mode for me. Again, I'm thinking, look, if I can pull back the dude in front, that's great. And in the end, I pulled back about a minute of him, but he didn't break down, so good for him. So at that point, it's about 330 watts for me for 5 minutes or so to the line. That's all it was. I'm kind of looking around, but you see, there's the power of the distance shutting down to the line, because even if a guy's only 100 meters behind you, but you've only got a couple of Ks to go to the line, the energy it takes to shut that gap in that time is massive. Compared to if you had 10 Ks to go, that's a totally different story. Anyway, so that's kind of the thoughts that went on in my mind about the race as a whole. Sorry if that's a bit scrambled, but I hope that's useful. So in the end, I did cross second for the road race. So, okay, so that's my thoughts about the road race and about the time trial. And that is, that's where I'll leave it, and I'm sorry that's a bit scrambled, but I'll try to do the next one a bit more, a bit better. So that brings to an end kind of summer season for me. If you would like me to coach you for any of these things, go to fitlab.co.nz. Pick up a plan. You can ring me and talk to me. Any new clients that sign up get a pack from me, which is this, which contains the cramp fix, which I used. So when you're in the closing stages of a race and you start to get a bit panicky because you can feel the cramp building up, if you take one of those, it tastes like the world's most disgusting vinegar, and you swirl it around in your mouth, and here's all the information on why it works. It's scientifically proven to work. It's not like this homeopathic bullshit that people use. It actually works, and it's got a proper mechanism of action that's scientifically verified. I used it and it worked for me. I use it pretty much every race now when it's really hard. You get a tailwind. This one's got the berry, what is it, tropical, with 30 milligrams of caffeine in it. And a Biomaxa sample and a couple of stickers and stuff like that. So, and my discount codes for the tailwind and the crank fix and the Biomaxa, and this, which is the rebuild. Sorry if it looks backwards to you. You get the idea. That's the tailwind rebuild. Comes in this coffee flavor or the chocolate. The coffee has caffeine, the chocolate one doesn't. The idea is you get this and you mix it up in your handy dandy FitLab bottle, which I'll also give you if you sign up with me. Put it in there after the race with water, mix it all up, and it's like a chocolate milkshake or a coffee milkshake that has all of the amino acids and glucose and everything you need, electrolytes, after a race. So you just dump it in and you get everything you need. That was used by my rider Liz Gasson, who had a problem at the end of the race, and she really needed calories and to be refueled in a hurry. So we put this in with a straw, and that saved her some problems. So that was useful. All right, get it on fitlab.co.nz, biomaxa.co.nz, Tailwind Nutrition, discount codes at the bottom. Sign up with me, get a program. Hope this was useful. Get it on. Sorry, I forgot to mention I'm also selling my last race bike on the Trade Me's at the moment. This is my Chapter 2 Riri. It's up there for $47.50. This bicycle has the Zip 808s, full Dura Ace, that is mechanical Dura Ace, rim brake, Quark D0 power meter, which has actually been replaced under warranty only a few months ago. It is in perfect shape. Dura Ace pedals. There is one little chip in the clear coat there, but there's nothing wrong with it as far as I can tell. It comes with all of the wheel manual, the little covers if you're using electronic. There's a couple of little detail picks. Chain rings are 50-34. The cassette is an Ultegra, but it has a Dura Ace locking ring, and it's 1125, I think. There's just some pictures. That's the stem picture. So if you want to know, stem, bar, width, length, yada yada, it's all on there. There's a couple of pictures of just how things are scuffed up. Actually, the lever's a little scuffed from putting it upside down because I'm stupid, but the brakes are mint. The wheels are all mint. They've all been serviced and used. Green Dura Ace grease. Everything's in good shape. That bar tape looks a bit dirty, but that's because my filthy hands. The bar tape's actually almost brand new. It's been used one race, I think. That is an Antares saddle, I think. GP 5000s. Now, as some of you may or may not be aware, I had a speed wobble on this bike at a race. I did eventually figure out what it was, and it was nothing to do with the bike. If it was, I would have, I wouldn't sell it because there might be something wrong with it. There isn't. I've stripped it down, checked it thoroughly for cracks and stuff. There is zero. This bike's only been used for races for, I don't know, like 3,000 kilometers or something. The cause of the speed wobble was kind of two things, but the main thing was the old Zip 404 I had on the front has this kind of very small buckle in it, and it seems like over about 80-85 k an hour it made the wobble happen. So that's why I'm selling it with the 808s. There's no problem with the bike at all. And I know that was the problem because I use it on my TT bike now, and whenever I get over that speed on my TT bike, I get the same wobble. And when I was rotating it in the stand, I could kind of feel it and stuff as well. So if you'd like to buy that, go to Trade Me, and I don't know, there's not too many Riris on there. You'll be able to find that one. No problemo. Good times.